Hello friends, I was just coming back from a ride on the Waydoo and I wanted to share an update with everyone that I sold all of my GetFOIL foil incorporated eFoil equipment. So it's all gone and I only have the Waydoo. So I'm still riding the Waydoo. It's almost 4 years old and still running like a champ. But it's not entirely the same Waydoo as I've always had for 4 years, and I'll get into that at the end of the video. And so this video is kind of about two things: selling my GetFOIL gear and what's next for me. So the reason I sold all of my GetFOIL gear is because, as you know, the company was out of business, and I'm not the kind of person who can tinker and repair and DIY and mod. I'm not an electrician. I don't understand the manufacturing enough to be able to just dive into this stuff and fix it if it were to break, because there's no more warranty or service. And also, I just don't really have the time. I'm a big family dad, father of 6, and so I just wanted to be able to sell the gear to someone who would better appreciate it. And before I talk about that aspect of selling it, I also, to be honest, I also needed the money because I had some unexpected home repairs and family car repairs that need to be compensated for. I wanted to sell it to someone who would better appreciate it, so I first put it on the Facebook GetFOIL Worldwide Owners Group, which is now a community to help people who are owners of the gear and just to understand what they can do to keep their gear running, who have the GetFOIL gear. Because I knew someone from the group would better appreciate the circumstances, would better appreciate the gear, and they would have managed expectations going forward for the circumstances of the gear, of foil and everything. And so I was really happy that I was able to sell it during the Labor Day weekend for someone who is visiting Lake Powell. Could just hand it off in person, easy transaction, and passing on the gear. I sold both of my boards. I had one motor. I had a bunch of extra wings and fun stuff, including the Axis black and red fuselage adapters from eFoil Premium Gears, which I really loved and was helping to add more progression to my foil at the end of me using it. And I was actually kind of getting to a point where riding the foil, I had plateaued because of the weight of the battery. The battery is 40 pounds, the biggest, heaviest battery on the market, fattest battery. And I had reached a point where getting into those aggressive carves is really hard to do. And so those are all the reasons that I sold the foil gear. And 2 years ago, I plateaued on the Waydoo Flyer 1 Kickstarter because the mast was too flexy. And so it would flex or twist in my more aggressive turns. And I started noticing it about a year to almost 2 years ago. But I didn't fully figure out what it was until about a year ago. And so one of the new things about this Waydoo is this mast is the Waydoo Flyer 1 Plus mast, which is thicker and more robust, and is going to help me to be able to get those carves back again without the mast twisting or flexing as much. And when that happened, it sounded like the prop was cavitating, so I thought it was prop related, but it wasn't. And so I've been able to resume my progression on the Waydoo with the lighter battery, and really push my carving, get those wing outs even on the Waydoo. And I can also take those Axis wings that I started using on the foil, and I can use them now on the Waydoo because the eFoilsolutions.com has a prop, which you guys may have already known about. I've done a review about the Streamline prop. This prop is amazing. It has more power and more range, and is more predictable acceleration as well from beginning to end, gear 1 to gear 24. So I'm really excited that this is kind of like my Waydoo Flyer 1 Plus hybrid Frankenstein here. So I'm really excited to see where I can go, how much farther I can progress on the Waydoo for the rest of the season and into next year. So yeah, that's what I'm going to next. It's not going to a different brand. It's just continuing to ride the Waydoo. I've always been riding the Waydoo. I added the foil a year later. You know, for the foreseeable future, I plan to be on Waydoo because I'm a budget eFoiler at heart. Because again, you know, big family, I got to keep the budget down. And so Waydoo has been the most performance budget-friendly design that I still see today, especially with the Evo coming up. So hopefully I can try that and share my experience with that as well. Yeah, so that's where we're going to next. Oh, even if I were to go to a different brand in the distant future, I would always have an appreciation for Waydoo because that's where everything began for me. That's where I learned that I could live life to the fullest, and I hope all of you guys can live life to the fullest too. We'll see you in the next video. So one more thing, if I'm being completely honest, I may not use all of the money that I got from the sale of my foil gear for expenses around the home. I may use some of it to build a second Waydoo eFoil. As I mentioned in the video, I have the Waydoo Flyer 1 Plus mast, so I have 2 masts, and I have 2 batteries. I have my older battery, plus the battery that I got from second place on the Waydoo video contest a couple of years ago. And but the original battery that I have, the buttons are no longer working physically, but I have a kit to retrofit it with some magnetic buttons, and if I can get it working again, then I'll have 2 working batteries, which means all I have to do is get another board and remote, and then I can share the joys of eFoiling once again, take people out for rides, friends, family, teaching, all that stuff, because that's been a big dream of mine, to be able to teach and share the joys of living life to the fullest.